The second generation CX-5 came out in 2017, which doesn't feel like it was all that long ago, but in automotive years, which are kind of like dog years, this thing is getting a little long in the tooth. It's about ready for its senior discount card. But despite that, it's still one of the most compelling vehicles in its class. Now, this isn't a refresh year, so the changes are pretty minor for 2025. The S trim is back. That's your base trim. The premium trim is gone. The premium plus and the carbon edition each get a few new standard features, and you've got USB-Cs up front here across the board now. So this carbon turbo I'm driving this week is essentially exactly the same as it was last year. It was introduced, this trim level was introduced in 2024, and the 2025 is unchanged. But anytime you see that carbon name in the Mazda lineup, you know that's the value play. Mazda doesn't do a la carte stuff. There's no like build your own burger here. They just have preset combos, so you have 8 different trim levels you can choose from, and whatever features are on that trim level, that's what you get. So this carbon turbo gets the 2.5-liter engine with the turbo, in case you couldn't figure that out from the name, and it makes 227 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque if you're running regular gas. If you run the good stuff, then you get 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet out of it, which those are some pretty big numbers for this segment, for this sort of sub $40,000 compact crossover segment. And while a lot of the competition has moved to CVTs, Mazda is still chugging along with their 6-speed automatic. It could use a few more years, probably for efficiency's sake. I'm getting about 20 miles per gallon combined. It's rated at 22 city, 27 highway. I never hit those EPA estimates, but 20 is pretty low here. It's a little bit rough. I do like the fixed gears, though. It's a lot less droney than a CVT for sure. And you get these paddles here in case you want to shift for yourself. And it's actually fun to drive. It's kind of Mazda's jam. You want efficiency, you go buy a RAV4 hybrid. You want something that's actually going to be fun without breaking the bank, you buy a Mazda. The steering is more engaging than the competition. It handles well for its size, and it's plunky quick. The only thing I'm not really the biggest fan of in terms of the driving here is the suite of safety and driver's assist features. Mazda is lagging behind a little bit in those areas. A few more lane shoves and beeps than I'd like to see here, and there's no true lane centering like for those long highway trips that a lot of the competition has. But the adaptive cruise works well. It's got rear cross traffic alert, blind spot monitoring, front collision braking, pedestrian monitoring, traffic jam assist. So these are all definitely worth having either way. And if there's something you really don't like or it's super in the way, you can always tone it down or turn it off through the infotainment system here. Another place Mazda tends to excel is in its interiors. The carbon turbo gets this terracotta leather trim and black. So brown over brown, not really my favorite. I wish you could get the red from the regular carbon trim in here, though still not with the brown exterior. But the leather surfaces are nice. The black is neutral. It's classy. It feels classy, feels comfortable. The seats are power adjustable. They have memory settings, heat, ventilation. The back seats aren't heated in this trim level, though. Suck it, back passengers, but you can get them heated in other trims. The analog gauges are classy too, even if some of them are actually digital and they're just pretending to be analog. But you can customize the middle one a little bit. There's not a whole lot of information you can put in there, but you can cycle through a few pieces of information. I really think analog gauges should make a comeback. I think these feel a lot more upscale than the fully digital gauge clusters, even the ones in super high-end luxury cars. I feel like the analog is a lot nicer and just feels a lot more upscale. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are wireless. The infotainment is simple. It's easy to use once you get used to this whole command center rotary knob and button situation that Mazda likes to use. But once you get into the Android Auto and Apple CarPlay menus, those are kind of built for touch, not built for the rotary dial. So those are a little bit easier to use with touch. And if you want to be able to use them while moving, you have to dig into your settings here in the Bluetooth and device settings to enable that while moving. But they haven't pulled the screen forward at all, so it's a little bit of a reach. So if you can get used to the command center rotary dial thing, even within those menus, that would be a lot simpler. And you can throw your phone down in this wireless charger that's standard. It's actually worked really surprisingly well this week. The CX-70 I had a couple of weeks ago I had a lot of problems with, but the wireless charger in this one has been flawless, even when my phone's in a case. You get music through a 10-speaker Bose sound system, so you do get that upgraded sound system. I wish they had a little bit of a higher-end sound system option, just, you know, for like the flagship vehicles. It'd be nice to see, maybe in the CX-5 doesn't necessarily need it, but it would be nice to see something a little higher end. I mentioned this generation is getting up there in age. The only real thing on the interior here that is showing age, I would say, is this mirror. It could go for a frameless mirror. You know, it still has the home link buttons with the garage door openers. It's still auto dimming. It's just really more of an aesthetic thing. The back seats are big on paper, but in reality, they feel much tighter than the RAV4 and the CR-V, which both have smaller numbers, or the HR-V, even depending on which Honda you want to compare it to. But there are vents back there, there are USB-A's, but again, heated seats are only going to be on other trims. The only thing I really find myself wanting from the other specs in here is the heated steering wheel. That'd be pretty much the perfect set of features in this interior. It's been kind of cold this week, and I'm sure you're all feeling very sorry for my cold hands. All right, let's talk about the brown elephant in the room. I'm glad to see that Mazda still offers some great colors on the CX-5. Unfortunately, you can't get any of them on the carbon turbo, and it's either this or white. I thought this would be better in person. I thought it would look better on a crossover. The last two Miatas I had were in this color, and it wasn't great. Thought a crossover would be better, but unfortunately, that's just not true. I just cannot get behind this color. Outside of the color, the carbon turbo gets black cladding, black mirrors, black wheels. It makes it have that sort of floating car look. Black grille, all the trendy blacked out stuff. Signature headlights and taillights, which are just like a slightly different version of the LED headlights and taillights that you'd normally get. The headlights are adaptive, and those will turn with you. I love to see that. Great nighttime visibility, rain sensing wipers, no de-icer on the carbon turbo though. Power liftgate via the key fob or button. No kick sensors to open, which is a little bit strange because a lot of the competition at this point has kick to open tailgates, and it's even available in other markets for the CX-5. Good for me though, because I don't have to stand there and demonstrate it and look like an idiot while I try to find the sensor for 3 minutes. Cargo space is a little bit on the small side compared to the RAV4 and the CR-V. It's a little bit bigger than what you get with the HR-V though. Still plenty of space, depending on what you're hauling, I guess. And a real spare in there, thankfully. No fix-a-flat kit in this one. Under the tailgate, you got parking sensors. You got those in the front as well, and those will trip the 360 cam that this one comes with. I wish you could remote start from the key fob. It's the only key fob function that I feel like is missing here, but unfortunately you have to have the app in order to do that. Ultimately, the CX-5 remains as one of the more compelling options in this segment for people that actually enjoy driving, even if it is due for an upgrade. A peppy turbocharged engine, engaging steering, a nice interior, nearly all the features you would want for 37 grand in this carbon turbo trim. If you need more space or you want something a little more efficient, you're going to have to look elsewhere, but this is still near or at the top of the list when it comes to enthusiast choice for compact crossovers.